We are live. We are live. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and guess what? It's Medical Monday yet again, where we give you all of the hot health topics in the headlines. We get all of the hot health topics in the headlines. And today we've got plenty of health news that I'm about to share with you. We'll start off with my favorite game, Myth versus Fact, and we'll talk about the very tragic death of a child from measles. Okay. And so I'll give you some myth versus fact information on measles, vaccines, and what we can do. And then I'll give you your weekly dose where I give you a fresh look on medical news that you won't get anywhere else. And we're talking about Gene Hackman and his mysterious death, along with his wife and his German Shepherd. Okay. We'll talk about possible causes and I'll give you some updates. And then we'll talk about another tragic loss, the actor Michelle Trachtenberg, from Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, Gossip Girl. Well, her mother found her dead at the age of 39 years old. And then yet again, we're talking about Karen Huger, Real Housewives of Potomac's Grand Dame. We knew that she had been found guilty of DUI charges, her fourth DUI actually. Well, her sentencing actually came through. Yes, she's going to jail. So we'll talk about that. And from a health perspective, we'll talk about the dangers of alcohol, the effects of alcohol on the body. And then I hear something kind of scary, very scary. There's a mysterious illness going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's already taken the lives of over 50 people, made over 400 people sick. So we'll talk about that and what to do with these mysterious illnesses. And then guess what? We'll get into the 5-minute health check. And that's when I'll just run some very important health news for you to know. Every week, I'll give you a 5-minute health check where we talk about updates on foods that have been recalled, illnesses that are going on, and just some kind of quick bites for you to take home. Of course, we're live, so we'll get a chance to interact live here and on stage, and you'll get a chance to do a little bit of a Q&A with me. For those who want an extended Q&A, you know what to do. Join the membership. But come on in. This is Medical Monday. I'm Dr. Frita. We're about to have a good evidence-based educational time. Hello, hello. We're live. I'm Dr. Frita. Y'all, please go ahead and click that thumbs up button and share this to let people know that we are here. And we're about to give evidence-based information on the hot health headlines in the news. Y'all know I'm not doing this alone. Shador, my office manager and co-host, please come on to the front of the stage.
Hey,
how you doing, Shador?
I'm pretty good. How are you? How's everyone?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Oh my gosh, how was your weekend?
Exciting. Started T-ball.
Yeah, your son started T-ball.
So a little mixture of emotions for him. First day, very, clingy and whiny and things of that nature, but warmed up on the second day. So making progress.
That's so good. That's so good. He's only 3 years old and he already is showing a lot of athletic ability. We know he's smart as a whip. So that's pretty exciting. I had an exciting weekend. First of all, I just want to send my prayers up and condolences to the family, to the loved ones, to the fans of Angie Stone. Yes, that really got me. We know she passed away in a car accident over the weekend. And we know that she is one of the really founding creators of neo soul, and a lot of us knew that she used to be with D'Angelo, had a child with D'Angelo. But one thing that's really important, she actually was a producer on that Brown Sugar album that made him so popular. She figured out how to package what he had. So she really was very instrumental in creating neo soul. Of course, she was R&B, neo soul. She was a singer and a songwriter. And so she's gone too soon at the age of 63. So that was a bit of a sad bit of news. But we did also have an athletic weekend where my youngest daughter had an AAU game. I'm not going to even lie. My baby tore that game up. If you check out my social media at Dr.Frita, I did post on one of my social media platforms a video because y'all know I was hyped talking about my baby. And I also did a spontaneous live after Angie Stone passed away. So follow me on all platforms at Dr.Frita and y'all will be able to see what's going on. But let's talk about what's going on in health. Shador, who was the first person in the chat today?
First person today was Miss Aline. Hi.
Hi, Miss Aline.
She says, hello, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Miss Aline, I hope you're ready because I need your participation because we're going to get into these hot health topics and we're going to start off by my favorite game, myth versus fact. let's talk about the measles, okay? So now, Shador, you know that was some sad news. That really got me. And for those of you who are new to the channel, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor, and I have been quadruple board certified. So I'm a board certified nephrologist, meaning I'm a kidney doctor and a high blood pressure doctor. I've also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, and obesity medicine. So Shador, you know, I did my residency at Georgetown, and it was a combined internal medicine pediatrics residency. And so, you know, I really firsthand was a part of getting kids vaccinated, and I saw firsthand what happened to children who did not get their vaccinations. And this was typically the kids who typically got really sick, who I would see in DC, were children who came in from other countries or kids from underserved areas who could not get the vaccines. Okay. And they ended up with some of these illnesses. But one illness that I didn't see, because we thought we had eradicated this one in 2000, was measles. Yeah, we declared the measles eradicated in the year 2000. But now, with so many people not getting vaccinated, it's back up. Okay, we're getting outbreaks. And so we know that in Texas in particular, there's been a measles outbreak. At this point, it's up to almost 150 people who have been infected with the measles. Earlier in the week or last week, it was 124 who were infected, 18 hospitalized, and one school-aged child has actually passed away. So Shador, let's share this clip and then get your pens ready. We're going to do myth versus fact and do some more education about measles and vaccines.
An unvaccinated child hospitalized with measles has died. This is the first reported death from measles amid an outbreak that has infected more than 130 people across Texas and New Mexico since January. CBS News' Omar Villafranca has the latest from West Texas.
The press conference is just wrapping up here in Lubbock, and health officials here at Covenant were able to confirm that a school-aged child who was being treated here did die in the last 24 hours from complications from measles. This is the first measles-related death in this outbreak. They also went on to clarify some other information, that the hospitalizations that they do have here, everyone who is hospitalized and getting treatment is not vaccinated. Now, just for some background, this outbreak started in Gaines County, about an hour and a half away, in an unvaccinated Mennonite community, but that community does interact with the general public, and that's why we're starting to see this spread into other counties. Now, health officials here are saying the best way for people to prevent the spread of this is to get their measles vaccine. They're saying measles is very contagious. If I had the measles and you were across from me and you were not vaccinated or didn't have any immunity, 9 out of 10 times you would get sick with the measles. So they're continuing to monitor this. They are working not only with the city of Lubbock and also the community here in West Texas, but they're also working with the state, and they're in contact with the federal government. Side note, we heard that HHS Secretary RFK Jr. Was at the White House talking today about some facts. He mentioned 2 deaths. When we asked the health officials here, they are only able to confirm 1 death. He also mentioned that the hospitalizations were for quarantine. The doctors here clarified the patients who are here at the hospital, they are not in quarantine. They are actively receiving treatment, especially since it's a respiratory disease, for breathing, extra oxygen, things like that, helping them breathe. So we're going to continue to monitor this, and when we get more information, we'll let you know.
All right. That is so sad. That's sad. I do like that reporter because he actually fact-checked the head of the HHS, RFK Jr., who outright gave misinformation. I was watching the conference and he was kind of trying to downplay it, it felt, but I'm glad that the journalist did do some real-time fact-checking. All right. So let's go for the myth versus fact. Okay. All right, everyone in the chat, everyone in the replay crew, I want you to give me an M1 for this first myth versus fact statement. An M1 if it's a myth, you don't believe it. An F1 if it's a fact. Shador, if you could read this first one, please.
Getting measles is safer because it builds better immunity than getting the vaccine.
All right. Put an M1 if you think that's a myth, that it's not safer to actually get the measles disease versus getting the vaccine. Put an F1 if you think that's a fact. You know, hey, I'm not getting that vaccine in my body. I'll just rather take my chance and get the measles. That's safer and it gives me better immunity. All right. An M1 if it's a myth. An F1 if it's a fact. All right. Statement 2, myth versus fact.
These few measles cases are no big deal.
All right. So, you know, a lot of times people accuse the media of hyping things up. But hey, these few measles cases are no big deal. It's just life. Do we get outbreaks all the time? Is it no big deal? Put an M2 if you think this statement is a myth, an F2 if you think it's a fact. This is much ado about nothing. Pencils down, pencils down. All right, Shador, do we have anyone in the chat who was bold enough to come to the front of the stage with an answer for myth versus fact statement number 1?
Absolutely. So getting measles is safer because it builds better immunity than getting the vaccine. We have Miss Beverly says it's a myth.
Hi, Miss Beverly. Okay, you don't buy it. Okay.
Tisha also agrees, myth.
Hi, Tisha. All right.
So does Duck. Hello, Duck.
Hi, Duck.
And Purple Onion says it's a myth as well.
Purple Onion, one of my favorite names. You're not buying it. You don't think getting measles is better. All right.
Charlene says it's a fact.
It's a fact. So you think by just letting your own immune system do the work, that's actually safer, because in the long run, you'll get a better immunity and then you won't have the risk of whatever the risk might be of the vaccine. All right. So is it a myth or is it a fact? Drum roll, drum roll. It's a myth. It's a myth. Getting the measles is not safer than getting the vaccine, and it does not give you a better immunity. So let's just talk about the immunity in the vaccines. So prior to us having measles vaccines, we had 400 to 500 people lose their lives in the United States alone every single year from the measles. Okay. Measles is actually the most contagious virus that we know. Okay. The most contagious virus. So if I walk into the room and if I have measles, I'm vaccinated, so there's a 97% chance I won't get measles. But if I walk into the room and I have the measles and I come into contact with someone who does not have the measles, that person has a 9 out of 10 chance of getting the measles. That's just how contagious the measles is. And guess what? If I walk out of the room with my measles self, measles can hang around for 2 hours and live on surfaces and live in the air without me. Yeah, it's a bad virus. And so measles is highly contagious. Not only is the measles highly contagious, it can also cause many complications and symptoms. Y'all go ahead in the chat and put some measles symptoms if you know them, and then we'll go back and go over them. So here's the truth about the vaccine. Just 2 doses of the measles vaccine gives you a 97% chance of a lifetime immunity. Okay. Now, of course, different people's immunities can wax and wane, especially if you're immunocompromised, if you're pregnant. But 2 doses of the measles vaccine protects you 97% effective. It's 97% effective at protecting you. And so you can't get much safer than that and much more protection than that. So that is a myth. Getting the measles is not safer because the risks of some of these complications that we're about to talk about far outweigh the benefits of avoiding a vaccine that is proven to be safe. All right. Has anyone weighed in on some of the signs and symptoms of measles or even some of the complications?
Yes, we have a few chimed in. Miss Stephanie, hello.
Hi, Miss Stephanie.
Miss Stephanie says spots or rash.
Absolutely. You can get a rash. And Stephanie, here's the trip about that. So if you walk someplace and you see somebody with a rash, you'll probably be like, that might be the measles, and you'll run, right? But here's the thing. People with the measles are actually contagious up to 4 days before they even get a rash. All right. So that's why it's really important that you do everything you can to protect yourself. And the CDC recommends that you get a vaccine. Okay. So yes, but definitely a rash is one of the symptoms.
All right. Miss Helene says high fever.
High fever. Exactly. That's one as well. Good.
For Beverly, she says full body red rash and extreme itching.
Okay. So itching is not one of the classic symptoms. Getting that full body rash, definitely, like this macular rash, like these purpley spots for sure. Yeah. And that's not to say people can't itch. That's not one of the classic symptoms that they talk about.
All right. TS says can cause blindness, hearing loss, death, and cause harm to others.
Move to the front of the class, TS. Absolutely. Hearing loss, blindness, death. It can cause all of those things. So very good. And for that itching, we know that's one of the classic itching, and the rash is classic with chicken pox, which kids really don't even get chicken pox these days, it seems, because of the vaccinations. They didn't have vaccinations when I was a child. But with the chickenpox rash, instead of it being like that flat red rash, the macular rash, it tends to be blisters, right? Vesicular rash for chickenpox. But that chickenpox is the one that's classically very itchy. All right, but dead on. So yes, with the measles, high fever. So the symptoms: high fever, cough, red eyes, fatigue, and yes, the complications can be many, including pneumonia, blindness, hearing loss, and you can lose your life, such as this young Texas boy did. And it's the first death since 2015. Okay. And I want to know what y'all think. What can we do to slow down this measles outbreak? And are you scared about it? Are you scared about it? Yeah. But that was the first one. I'll let y'all put that in, and then we'll tackle myth versus fact statement number 2. Ooh, I love it when y'all participate, chat. Y'all, please give us a like and go ahead and share this video. Give us a thumbs up. Let people know that we're here, because we got a whole lot more learning to do over this next hour. All right. Myth versus fact number 2. What's that statement again, Shador, please?
These few measles cases are no big deal. So these few measles cases are no big deal.
All right. Who do we have? Who thinks it's no big deal? And they're tired of me being in here ringing the alarm, ring the alarm. All right.
Anton, hello. Anton says myth.
Myth. Okay. Anton is like, yes, it is a big deal. Okay.
Andrea agrees.
Hi, Andrea.
So does Roby. Hello.
Roby says, okay, this is a myth. You think it is a big deal?
Mm-hmm. Janice as well says it's a myth.
Hi, Miss Janice. It's a myth. Okay.
And Miss Donna.
Hello, Miss Donna. All right. Anyone say it's a fact that it's no big deal?
No fact takers on this.
Okay, y'all are correct. Drum roll, drum roll. Yes, it's a myth. And what really struck me is when there was a conference and RFK Jr., head of HHS, he said, yeah, we get measles outbreaks every year. And he was like, the people in the hospital are in the quarantine. There have been 2 deaths. He just sat there and he spit out 3 pieces of misinformation. He needs to come and join us on Medical Monday so he can get some evidence-based info, because it actually is a big deal. And yes, there are some measles outbreaks every year, but again, we had eradicated the measles, so we thought, in the year 2000. But now with so much misinformation going around, and especially after 2020, a lot of people became skeptical. Okay, and there's been like a big anti-vax movement. And so specifically in Gaines County, where this outbreak occurred, the rates of people who are not vaccinated has increased significantly. And along with it, there's been an increase with the measles. And one thing I know, like when I was in school, there were required vaccinations. There still are. And you can definitely get medical exemptions. Okay. If you're allergic to a vaccine, of course you can't get it. But in some places, like in Texas, you don't have to have a medical exemption. It could be a religious exemption. And we talked about the Mennonites. Okay. That's a community. And it's, let me talk about the Mennonites. They're of the Anabaptist community, and the Amish, kind of similar to the Amish. They're a different wing of that same type of community, where the people wear a lot of, they're Christians, conservative dress. They use limited technology. And while officially there's no anti-vaccination policy, or that, according to one of the representatives that I read about who was talking about it in the Mennonites, but in those communities, there does tend to be a lower amount of vaccines. Okay. So, so this little boy came from Gaines County with it. But yeah, so the outbreaks are a big deal because, okay, sure, you can make your choice and get vaccinated. But here's the issue. Children who are less than 1 year of age, it's not time to get the measles vaccine. It's not time for the MMR. And so if I'm a mom walking around with my child and my child is 8 months old, my child hasn't gotten the vaccine yet. And so now, by people who've chosen not to get the vaccine, they're putting my baby at risk, okay? Because if they come near my baby, that baby has a 9 out of 10 chance of getting the measles. Now, children who are less than 6 months of age, even without the vaccine, are a little bit safer. They have some protection. Does anybody know why? Am I doing too much? Why would a baby less than 6 months, even if they don't have the vaccine, still have some protection from the measles? I want to see some of these med heads for real. Do we have anybody who's in the healthcare field? So I'll answer that in a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, the outbreaks are a big deal because yes, the complications that y'all outlined, especially TS outlined so well, and because the more and more people who have it will lose our herd immunity. And by herd immunity, that means as long as most people in a community are vaccinated, that provides protection against those who don't have the vaccines. Why? Because if no one in your community gets measles, for example, then you can't get it. It's not there. But when the number of people who are vaccinated against certain diseases like measles, when that number increases, like you have more unvaccinated people, then you lose that herd immunity. So then babies who aren't vaccinated, pregnant women, older people, immunocompromised people, you put everyone at risk. So vaccines aren't just important for the people who are vaccinated. They're also important to protect the vulnerable populations of people who aren't. All right. Does anyone know why babies less than 6 months might be protected from measles, even if they don't have the vaccine? And what was my other question? We talked about the complications of measles. Do we have any participants?
Yes. So Roby.
Hi, Roby.
Purple Onion. And KD.
Okay.
All chimed in from the mom, because the mother, if she's vaccinated, they have their protection.
Move to the front of the class. Move to the front of the class. Yes. So even if you haven't been protected, certainly 6 months and younger, you will actually have your mother's antibodies if you're a baby. So you have protection from your mom. Oh my gosh. And breastfed babies, studies show us, have even more protection. But that danger zone is between 6 months and 12 months, because you're starting to lose your mother's antibodies and you're not old enough to get the measles vaccine. And so those children are super vulnerable. Oh, I can't believe y'all knew that. I love my med heads. Listen, if y'all want to be med heads at the membership level, make sure you click the link in the description. I give you members only videos, and you get first look at the videos that I release to the public as well. And then if you enter at the top tier, then you get a monthly live Q&A, where instead of just giving you information, I sit back and I listen and I answer your questions live and on stage, and you get the benefit of all of these degrees I've run around trying to get all these years and getting. So go ahead, click the link in the description, and please be a member. All right, that's real good. Okay. Oh, I didn't think they're going to get that one. Okay, I love it. Good. Damn, it's a smart group. All right. Good. All right, so that's it for the measles. Listen, you can check out, after you finish watching this live, I have a short, and on all my social media platforms, I'm at Dr.Frita, but I go and I reiterate some of the details on the measles, the vaccines. Also, right here on my YouTube channel, I have a couple of videos on the truth about vaccines, where I really break down the immune system and how vaccines work in a way that's easy to understand. All right, it's time for the weekly dose. The weekly dose. This is where I give you a fresh look on the health headlines that you won't get anywhere else. Let's dive into it, shall we, Shador?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, y'all know Gene Hackman, Oscar award-winning actor, has been in multiple films, Hoosiers, Superman, you name it. Well, he was found unalive in his home at 95 years of age. And so was his wife, who was 64. And so was their dog, a German Shepherd. So Shador, let's roll this clip. And then I want y'all to put in the chat if you think it sounds like there was foul play, or what do you think may have been going on. And again, we don't know for sure at this point, but I'm curious to see what you think. All right.
Breaking news, actor Gene Hackman has died. The sheriff in Santa Fe, New Mexico says Hackman and his wife were found dead in their home, but no foul play is suspected. He was a two-time Oscar winner, nominated 5 times over a career spanning 40 years, from the basketball coach in Hoosiers.
If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
To Lex Luthor in Superman.
Thanks to the generous help of the United States government, we are about to be involved in the greatest real estate swindle of all time.
To the movies that won him Oscars.
All right, shut up, damn. Shut up! Anybody want a milkshake?
The French Connection and Unforgiven.
I didn't see you there. No woman. No 2-gun shooters.
Hollywood This Morning remembering Gene Hackman, found dead alongside his wife, Betsy Arakawa, and their dog at their New Mexico home yesterday. The sheriff saying overnight, "I want to assure the community and the neighborhood that there's no immediate danger to anyone." The sheriff not providing details on cause of death. Hackman was 95, his wife 64. They had lived in New Mexico since the 1980s. Years ago, Hackman was asked by GQ magazine how he wanted to be remembered. As a decent actor, he said, as someone who tried to portray what was given to them in an honest fashion.
Check this out.
Yeah, that was sad and sudden. And it's really bizarre, Shador, that all three, including the dog, were found unalive at the same time. And the authorities, though they haven't revealed very much, they feel very sure, so it seems, that there was no foul play. And so, but they did, when they were looking at the scene, they saw that Gene Hackman's glasses had fallen off of his face. There was a knocked over heater apparently near where his wife was. There were pills strewn about. So, they think there could have been some falls involved, but not many things will take the lives of 3 people at the same time. Also, they feel like it was days. I've heard weeks. I've heard at least 9 days. At the time that he passed away, at the time that they discovered him, it looked like it was at least 9 days before his pacemaker had done anything. So we know that he had passed away at least 9 days before then. And so it's still a bit of a mystery. Anyone in the chat comment on if they think there's any foul play involved? And again, we don't know. We don't know.
So Aline, she says, yes, I think it's foul play.
Okay. But, but the authorities are saying it's not. And if it is foul play, what could it be? I mean, if it were, one of them taking the other one's life and then taking the dog's life and taking their own life, it seems like we should have some type of an evidence. But then again, we don't know how tight-lipped everyone's being. That's curious. Anyone else comment?
Yeah, Buffy. Hi, Buffy.
Hi, Buffy.
Buffy says, I initially thought either foul play or carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right. So carbon monoxide, that was the first thing that came to me also, Buffy, carbon monoxide poisoning. So we know that you can get carbon monoxide, especially if there's a leakage in certain electronics, gas heaters. With the carbon monoxide, this is how the carbon monoxide poisoning works. Carbon monoxide actually outcompetes oxygen in binding to your molecules, to your red blood cells. And so if you are inhaling carbon monoxide, it's odorless, it's colorless. You won't know that you're inhaling it, but the carbon monoxide will take over your body. And so you won't have enough oxygen, and then you can pass away that way. And, initially carbon monoxide poisoning can give flu-like symptoms, but then ultimately it can lead to confusion, seizures, and it can lead you to being unalive. So here's the thing. It sounds like they did test Buffy, they did test for carbon monoxide poisoning, and they didn't find any evidence. But if they had passed away over a week ago, I don't know how reliable those tests are. I don't know if the carboxyhemoglobin will still be there. And so that's something that I'm waiting to hear, like how many weeks, how many days is that carbon monoxide testing and the autopsy good for? Is not an unlimited amount of days. And so that still could be on the table. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Beverly, she shares. She says, medication was found near the wife. Do you think she found him and then off herself? So sad.
Yeah, I thought about that too. They said there were pills all about, but they've been protecting them as far as HIPAA, not telling us. Well, some people have leaked. I'll call it a rumor, so I won't share what some of those pills were. But did she find him? And then did she take the dog away also, and then herself? And of course, we're just speculating. I don't know, but I thought about that as well. But one thing we know, it's not likely for 2 people and a dog to all pass away of natural causes on the same day. That we know. And so it remains to be seen. Let me ask also, what's your favorite Gene Hackman movie? Y'all go ahead and put that on the chat, and maybe we'll go back and shout some of those out as we go. But getting for one of the things that they said about like the heater being knocked over, Gene Hackman's glasses being found, falls. Now he was 95 years old. She was a young thing, only 64 years old. That's quite an age gap. We think about 64, that is, very grown, very mature, but she was very young to him. And, they found some things that looked like there could have been a fall. And we know that there are lots of risks for falls, especially in the elderly people. Things like having poor lighting, if their vision's not good, having increased clutter. If you have these rugs, these loose rugs, you can trip over the corner, and you're more at risk of doing that, as you get older, as your balance gets off. So different things like that can increase your risk for falls. Even low tables, like those coffee tables, if they're not in your field of vision, you could trip over those and fall. So make sure anyone who's listening, if you have someone who's elderly in your life over the age of 65, or really if you're prone to falls yourself, just be careful, because especially if you live home alone, you could fall, not be able to get up, and it could end up being a fatal situation. Yeah. All right. So as we get ready to move on, did anyone make a comment on their favorite movie of Gene Hackman?
Yes, Aline, she chimed in with Enemy of the State.
Enemy of the State. Mine, and I know it's nostalgic, Superman, when he was Lex Luthor. That is my all-time favorite. But he got nominated many times, won 2 Academy Awards. He really, really was good. And he's funny because I was looking at an old interview. He said he never really thought of himself as a star. He thought of people like Robert Redford and some of the men who were supposed to be classic heartthrobs or more commercially attractive. He didn't think of himself as a star, but most definitely he was. But yeah, Gene Hackman, gone at the age of 95, along with his wife and their German Shepherd. All right, so we'll keep you updated as we learn more. All right, y'all, please go ahead and give us a like. Don't forget, give us a like as you're coming on in here. We're giving evidence-based medicine. And also, please join our membership so you can be a part of our live Q&A and get a lot of the members-only perks. All right, Shador.
Mm-hmm.
This next case is awful sad as well. Buffy, you have me thinking of it because this was a star of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Gossip Girl. She was a Disney star as well. Michelle Trachtenberg was found by her mother unalive in her apartment in New York at the age of 39. Let's roll this clip, please.
Also today, actress Michelle Trachtenberg has died at the age of 39. She's best known for her roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Gossip Girl. She made her acting debut as a child star with roles in Nickelodeon projects. The New York native was found in her Manhattan apartment this morning. She was found by her mother. ABC News senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky has been following this and has the details for us. Obviously surprising here, Aaron. What details do we know, if any? It sounds like from your reporting, no foul play is expected at this hour.
No foul play. In fact, it appears that she died of natural causes, but what a heartbreaking discovery for her mother. Michelle Trachtenberg was at home. It was about 10 minutes or so after 8 o'clock this morning when police say her mother discovered Michelle Trachtenberg unconscious and unresponsive. EMTs arrived a short time later, pronounced her dead at the scene, and they said there was no evidence of foul play. One thing police sources are wondering, Ken, is whether a recent liver transplant may have had something to do with her death, maybe some complications from that. An autopsy is going to be performed, though, to determine for sure.
All right, Aaron, our thanks to you. That is a terribly sad.
Yeah, that's very sad. She was only 39 years old. But yeah, so they still have not revealed the official cause. They do think that she had natural causes. And I didn't realize that she had had a liver transplant. And so we'll talk a little bit about liver transplant, organ transplantation. And as we do that in the chat, I want y'all to put, what do you think some complications might be of someone having a liver transplant that could possibly lead to them not being alive? So for livers, so we know that if your liver stops working completely, it's a big filterer of various toxins in the body. The liver also plays a role in your active vitamin D. It plays a role in your blood being able to clot properly, your coagulation. So, the liver is very important, especially as getting rid of toxins. We know that certain things can put you at risk for liver disease. There are many genetic diseases. Genetic diseases like primary biliary cirrhosis can do it. I don't know what she had, but there are other things, even some autoimmune diseases like lupus. If a person had lupus, they can get a lupus hepatitis. And then certainly people can get fatty liver, NASH, and then cirrhosis of the liver for sure if a person is someone who drinks alcohol excessively. Okay. And then, of course, infections like hepatitis B, hepatitis C. So various things can cause liver disease and can lead to liver failure. Thankfully, we do have liver transplants. And I know when I was at Emory doing my nephrology fellowship, I would take care of patients because we of course, we did kidney transplants and we did liver transplants, but sometimes we would do both of them. Okay. A kidney and a liver transplant at the same time, because oftentimes people with liver disease, for various reasons, a lot of them will be very hypotensive, low blood pressure, meaning they would not be able to get the proper pressure and perfusion to the kidneys. And so they would get liver disease and then would turn into kidney disease as well, multi-organ failure. And so I took care of a lot of patients who had both liver and kidney transplants. And it's those patients can get very sick. They can get very sick. But if they are able to get the transplant and it takes, there's no rejection, then it's a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver. But yeah, I didn't know that she had a liver transplant. So she kept her life very private, it seems, in that aspect. So they said natural causes. We don't know. But did anyone comment on what they think some complications might be from a transplant, Shador?
Yes, Stephanie chimed in with
Hi, Stephanie.
rejection by the host.
Absolutely. So if you get a liver from somewhere, right? If someone transplants a liver to you, it's from someone else's body, right, Stephanie? And so your body sees it as something foreign, an invader, just as it might see bacteria or viruses. And so your body might attack it with your immune system, causing a rejection. And so, of course, it's for that reason, Stephanie, that we take patients with transplants take anti-rejection medicines. Of course, those medicines will suppress your immune system. So while those medicines are fighting the antibodies that might fight the liver, okay, so you can have the liver transplant, they're also fighting the antibodies that protect you from other bacteria and viruses. Anyone else listening complications that could happen? Okay. So in keeping with the rejection, Stephanie, so for people who are on the immunosuppressant meds, the other thing that can happen is you can have a weak immune system and you can get sick from something else, right? So if the immunosuppressant meds are successful in pushing your body's immune system down enough so that it doesn't reject the liver, well, it might also push your body's immune system down so that it can't protect you from pneumonia, from viruses, from fungi, from bacteria. You might get a cut that normally your body would handle just like that, but it could become gangrene. Okay. So, you might get meningitis that your body normally would have fought. And so, so that's another complication, getting really sick from a weak immune system. Also, there can be issues with clotting, like within the transplant surgery in the bile system, bile ducts, gallbladder, all the things that are connected, pancreas. You can have some other complications related. You can, of course, get, the infection that we talked about. And then, if the liver is not working well, you can have blood clotting problems where you bleed out. Perhaps your blood doesn't clot as much as it should. And so you can have easy brain bleeds or internal bleeding. So there's all kind of complications. Yeah. So, so prayers go up, for her family, her mom, for all of her fans. And, she was really a beautiful young lady, also very talented. And that's a tough thing about this job, Shador. For us, being in health, for me being a doctor, I see much more people passing away than I'd care to. Of course, even we're talking about celebrity health here, but it's just a part of daily life. And I never really know why. And I know I'm not supposed to have all the answers, but just so many good, decent people who are, serving others, be it through entertainment, through service, through kindness. And I just never know why we lose people at young ages. I guess I'll never know. But yeah, Michelle Trachtenberg gone at the age of 39 after a recent liver transplant, natural causes, though we don't know the specifics. All right. So now let's move on to the next topic. We brought it up a little earlier. All right. If you watch any of the Real Housewives franchises, put RH in the chat. And I'm curious to see. And I'm going to go ahead. I put RH in my chat from over here because, yes, I watched them. Real Housewives of Atlanta. I will be watching again. Yes, Nene is the greatest star of all of the Real Housewives franchises. I'm sorry. She's the only one who's been gone for so long, but we can't stop talking about her. Okay, so that's that. But from the Real Housewives of Potomac, we know that we talked about the Grande Dame, Karen Huger, because she had an accident back in March, I believe, after driving under the influence. Okay. She was intoxicated with alcohol, hit a tree. And instead of her taking the plea deal, like they'd offered her some house arrest and some other things like that, rehab. But she, on the show, the season just ended, said that she would be vindicated. She didn't want their little plea deal. But baby, if y'all saw that, the body cam footage, she was definitely intoxicated. She says it's because she was taking antidepressants. She says also it's because she was mourning the passing away of her parents. But we're finding out more and more information. Bottom line, this was not her first DUI, not her second, not her third. This was her fourth DUI, and she got sentenced. And I want y'all to put in the chat, do you think that it was fair, the sentencing that she got? She actually is getting jail time, y'all. I'm not kidding. She's 61 years old. Shador, can you play the clip then, and then I'll see if y'all think it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
The Fox 5 newsroom. We'll get back to Lion Lunch Hour in just a minute, but first wanted to bring you this breaking news. First on Fox 5 and just into the Fox 5 newsroom, we do have a sentence for Real Housewife of Potomac star Karen Huger, just now sentenced to 1 year in jail. Prosecutors have been looking for a 2-year sentence with all but 6 months suspended. In this case, the judge made a different decision, deciding that Karen Huger should go to jail for 1 year. Now, this all goes back to the accident in which she was ultimately convicted of DUI. That accident happening in Montgomery County last year, just about 1 year ago. And then, of course, she took this to trial and was convicted in December of last year. So a few months ago, today was sentencing day. And again, that sentence coming down just a short time ago, 1 year in prison for Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger.
That's it. Just like that, the Grand Dame is going to jail. And for people who watch it like I do, you've seen her kind of talk and make threats. And she said, you know, different people were going to go to jail. This is seasons back. And she's like, clank, 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 clank. Be careful. I'm bending over to pick up that soap. She used to make kind of jokes about people who might go to jail. And now she's there. All right. So I want to know, do we have any people who actually watch? And does anyone think that it's fair that she's going to jail? I mean, she's 61 years old. She's a Grand Dame. She's wealthy. She's a woman of society. Do you think that they're being a little harsh on her? Or do you think that she needs this lesson to actually go to jail or prison for a year? Any comments?
Yeah, so Miss Aline, she watches and says, yes, it's fair. The sentencing is fair.
Ooh, Miss Aline. Now, you know, I guess if this had been her first DUI or maybe even her second, or maybe if she had accountability, because if you watch, then you know, like I know, she was quite arrogant about it. And even after being found guilty, she was asked by one of the producers, like an interviewer, do you think you have a problem with alcohol? And she said, I do not have a problem with alcohol. Let's be clear. You know, so it sounds like her accountability is still missing. And, you know, and if she's in her 60s and still getting DUIs, driving, where she could potentially take the lives of other people, including herself, you know, not just herself, then perhaps she needs more of a lesson. So, okay, you said that she is fair. Ooh, anybody else?
Ms. Rita, she watches the Housewives franchise.
Me too. And you know what? And I'm not even guilty about it. I watch it and then I'll watch What Happens. I watch Married to Medicine. Also a mess. I love it though. All right. Anyone else?
TS says, I think it's fair, even if meds or sadness, she chose to drive, tired of all these rich people and stars getting away with the things that most of us would not be let go with.
That's true. That's true, TS. Like, we would not have been able to probably make it to the second DUI. But the fact that she was able to make it to the fourth and still not accept the generous plea offer of being in your own house. She has a nice house arrest. There's a certain arrogance to it. You know, and in saying that, I certainly am not insensitive to the fact, or what I believe is the fact, that she does have an alcohol issue. I just believe that she's in denial. And for anyone who watched the reunion, the third part of the reunion last night, yes, I watched it. Don't judge me. Judge yourself. They talked about like Ashley and Wendy were revealing these are some of the other characters. The watchers know. If you know, you know. But some of the other characters on the show were saying that they had heard, and of course these are rumors, it's all alleged, but they heard from a direct source. They say one person said that she used to go to a restaurant and she would day drink and literally get intoxicated every day, even before her parents passed away, because one of her reasons for drinking was being depressed because her parents were gone. And, you know, and throughout the seasons, they always would kind of make jokes saying that Karen did drunk calls. But I thought that, you know, they were just kind of exaggerating. But it sounds like she really does have a problem. And I do just want to touch on a few things. You know, we've talked about here alcohol. The CDC has what they consider a moderate amount of alcohol, which is 1 drink per day for women, no more than 1, no more than 2 drinks per day for men. And, you know, and that was thought to be moderate and safe. We know that with new research, as we talked about, y'all can go back to look at some of the replays if you, you know, go look on the YouTube search on some of these lives. But we now know that even moderate amounts of alcohol can increase your risk for cancer. And so everyone make your own decisions, safe decisions, consult with your doctor. But I say that to say there's no safe amount of alcohol. But for people who do partake in alcohol, if you drink to the point of intoxication, it can definitely delay your reaction time. So it can delay your pushing the brake when you should be pushing the brake to stop from hitting a tree, for example. It can also alter your judgment. It can make you bolder. It can take away your impulse control. It can cause you to have slurred speech. And definitely in that body cam, we saw that she had very slurred speech. It can cause you to have an altered mental state in the sense that you're saying things that just you normally wouldn't say. Karen Huger in that tape said that she was Thomas Jefferson's concubine. She said, I'm rich. She said, I'm mixed with white and Russian. She told the policeman, she said, you're poor and you're white. Like there was no impulse control at all on that tape. And, clearly her lawyer saw the tape because they're the ones who wanted, they were moving to hold the tapes, the body cam tapes from being a part of the decision making. But that judge was not playing with her because the prosecution really was just asking for her to do 6 months in jail. That judge said, no, ma'am. He gave her a year. All right. But yeah, so just make sure that, be honest with yourselves about drinking. There's this cage questionnaire, like in some of the things in there. Do you ever feel guilty about drinking alcohol? Do you need an eye opener when you first wake up in the morning? Things like that. And, are you constantly thinking about alcohol? Do you feel like you're drinking too much? If so, be honest with yourself, have conversations with your primary care doctor, and understand that alcohol does take lives, not even just in motor vehicle accidents. It also can lead to cirrhosis, things of that nature, increase your risk for high blood pressure, cancer. It can increase your risk for cancer. So check out my video here on this YouTube channel, what alcohol does to the body. And I really go into detail and I break down the science in a way that's easy to understand on what alcohol does to the body. All right, Shador, let me tell you, something has been happening to some other bodies in another country, on another continent, actually, where we have a mysterious illness. Oh, y'all, can you stand it? I can't stand when we have a mysterious illness. We know when we had that mysterious illness back in 2020, really 2019, we know what happened with that. But there's been another mysterious illness that's taken the lives of 53 people, made 431 people ill, and we don't know what it is. It's taking the lives within 48 hours. So as we watch this clip, and when I'll share where this illness is occurring, I want you to answer in the chat. What do you do when you hear about mysterious illnesses? Do you panic? Do you start preparing? And, what are your thoughts about this mysterious illness? And do you think it could lead to us having a repeat 2020 with the lockdown? So go ahead and put some comments in the chat and let's play this. And we'll talk about the mysterious illness that's taken over 50 lives.
Mystery illness is now being blamed for more than 50 deaths in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization believes the illness broke out in a village where 3 children died after eating a bat. Symptoms include fever, vomiting, and internal bleeding. More than 400 cases now reported in the last 5 weeks. In nearly half of the fatal cases, patients died within 48 hours of becoming ill.
That's very scary. And I hate it. Just 3 children eating a bat. And I'm not sure if anyone in the chat knows if that's just, common food that's eaten, in that particular part of the world, Democratic of Congo. I don't know, but that is what they think was the origin. Okay. So perhaps an infected bat, which just takes us back to 2020 when the thought was, we know that coronaviruses, are carried in bats, back when we dealt with that pandemic. But did anyone comment on what they do or what they think about outbreaks?
Yeah. So Miss Gladys, hi Miss Gladys.
Hi,
She
Miss
said
Gladys.
still wearing her mask, so wear a mask.
Okay. And that's interesting because, and we're actually, in flu season, RSV seasons, and masks still work. Things became so political, like my body, my choice. We want, you can't tell us what to do. You can't make us wear masks on one hand, but then the same, people saying, my body, my choice, no mask, also supported the Supreme Court taking away the choice of women as far as getting reproductive health. So that's really a bit ironic. But yeah, but masks actually do work when you get down to the nitty gritty and can help protect against a lot of things. Okay. So you say you're still wearing your mask. Okay. Anyone else?
Miss Sheree. Hi, Miss Sheree.
Hey, welcome back, Miss
Says,
Sheree.
I start preparing in my mind.
Start preparing in your mind. And they're different things. So like when we think about how to prepare, it's like, okay, if it hits a certain place, do I have a passport? Okay. An active, up-to-date passport where I can go. Do I have enough money in my account or on credit cards to be able to buy a plane ticket right now if I need to go somewhere? Do I have non-perishable items? Y'all know I sit on here and all I do is preach about not eating a whole lot of canned food, not eating a whole lot of processed foods. But quite frankly, those are the foods that are not perishable. And so it's important to have some non-perishable foods. Medication. If things shut down and you can't get out, do you have a supply of medications? Do you have a month of your high blood pressure medicine, your insulin if you need insulin, your diabetes medicine, your cholesterol medicine? Do you have those things? Do you have backpacks that you can grab and go, right, for an emergency, packed for you and each person in your family, where they have maybe a couple changes of clothing, some water, things of that nature? Are you prepared? And I encourage you, and I don't want it to freak everyone out, but you can look up emergency preparedness or health preparedness, and to try to control what you can control. But yeah, a lot of things going on. So for the mystery illnesses, they say they've ruled out Ebola. And we know that Ebola is one of those illnesses with high fatalities caused by a virus. People can have symptoms anywhere, from 8 to 10 days usually, and it can cause just bleeding everywhere, death. And you can get it from people, even if you don't contact them directly. If you contact the clothing or any of their excrement, their body fluids, you could get Ebola. But they say they've ruled that out. We don't know what it is at this point, and that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a new virus or a mystery virus. For real, it might just mean that there are limited resources there. So, we'll keep you updated. But yeah, right now it's taking the lives of over 50 people, made over 400 ill. And they believe it's the 3 children who were eating a bat. And so, whatever health issues anywhere can be health issues everywhere. Okay. So I definitely wanted to make sure we're not just thinking of it as that illness over there, because we know what happened in 2020 when that mystery pneumonia was that illness over there. So we need to be smart and we need to be prepared. All right. So now we'll move on to our 5-minute health check, where I'm just going to run some of the things that are going on, some of the recalls, some of the quick bullet points of health in the headlines. Please make sure you give us a like. And remember, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, I do offer a telehealth concierge service where you have one-on-one time. HIPAA's in effect. I can get a full history from you. I can give you a second opinion, first opinion. We can just touch base. As I mentioned, I've been board certified in kidney disease or nephrology, internal medicine, pediatrics, obesity medicine. And so I like to learn a lot about a lot, and I like to share what I learn in a way that's easy to understand. And so if you, a friend, a family member, if you just want to run something by me, then click the link in the description. We can do a telehealth service. Or if you want to talk to me on a wider platform, but you still want to get your questions when we go back and forth, join the membership. Join the membership at the highest tier. We do a monthly live Q&A, and I sit right there and I answer your questions. You can ask another question. You can even come up on stage. Okay, you can come up on stage for my members at that tier. But check out the memberships. We have lots of options, some very inexpensive, where you're still able to get your membership emojis, your custom emojis, loyalty badges, shout outs. And then we have another tier of membership where you get the members only videos. Okay. So when I'm doing things like last week, I was on the Portia show again. And so I gave a video just for the members to kind of see what that was like. And sometimes I just hop on there and just talk about, did y'all ever watch Martin? He said, sometimes mama just feel it. That's how I feel sometimes. I just hop on there and I talk to my members. Anyway, all right. But Shador, let's get this 5-minute check. And then at the very end, if we have, we can see if we want to do a little interaction, if we have some time at the end. Thank y'all for joining. Again, please make sure you hit the like and share. Those of you in the replay crew, hey, please like and share. And make sure you subscribe to our channel. We are up to over 837,000 subscribers. Thank y'all so much on this YouTube channel. We're steadily marching toward 900,000, then toward 1 million. But I'm very excited and very proud because we provide evidence-based information in a way that's easy to understand. I think it's easy to understand. Do y'all think it's easy to understand? All right, let's do this 5-minute check.
All right. Recall health alert. Deadly bacteria found in hospital nutrition shakes.
Y'all, this one made me want to fall off my stool. Yes, there's been a deadly bacteria found in the hospital shakes, given a lot to hospital patients, to nursing home patients, and 12 people have actually lost their lives. Yeah, so it's serious. It's seriously fatal due to this bacteria. You know what the bacteria is? listeria. We've talked about that on this channel. You can get listeria, and listeria is one of those tricky things because even when it's refrigerated, as milk probably would be, the listeria can sometimes live. It can cause gastrointestinal symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. But then you can also get listeriosis where it's systemic, it's all over your body, and it can cause muscle aches, fever, and even fatality, as we've seen. So if you have a loved one in the hospital, ask about this milk if your patient might be getting it in the nursing home or hospital, because there's been a recall from the deadly bacteria, listeria.
All right. New ways to measure obesity. It's more than just a number.
Obesity. Listen, so I told y'all I did get my board certification in obesity medicine, which I'm really excited about because y'all know what the measure has been for years. And I just want you to just put it in the chat, y'all. What is the measurement to determine if you're living with obesity or living with being overweight? Okay. Anybody put it in? Y'all know what it is. What 3 letters determine if you're living with obesity or living with being overweight? Well, it's been classically the BMI, body mass index, but we know that the body mass index doesn't take into account muscle mass, bone density, any of it. And here's what's really going to trip y'all out. Do y'all know how the BMI came to be? There was a study that was done, but the people in the study were European men. So the study is mostly filled with white men. There was a small number of men from Japan and men from South Africa. Women weren't in the study. Definitely Black women weren't in the study. Nobody who was hippie. No. So we use this measure now to let us know if we're living with obesity or being overweight, when really that original study had nothing to do with this. And a mathematician did the study. So now they're talking about there's some adjustments that have been made. You know, it hasn't been totally accepted by all standards yet. But if you are a person who's of Asian descent, for example, then instead of obesity for you being marked at 30, it might be marked at 28 because, you know, many people who are of Asian descent are smaller people. And of course, it's a generalization, but tend to have health risks at lower BMIs, okay, than what's considered to be obese. And then for Black women, by some of the standards, they've increased the limit to 33. They found that many Black women who were being called obese didn't really have all of those complications and true risk factors. But some other ways other than just BMI, waist circumference. Okay. So if you're a woman, if your waist circumference is 35 or above, if you're a man and it has 40 or above, 40 inches or above, then that's considered to be at a high risk. And perhaps, you know, you'll get the label of living with obesity. There are also DEXA scans where you can see, instead of just how much you weigh, how much fat do you have? How much muscle do you have? How dense are your bones? And so stay tuned. We'll see what gets standardized and accepted. But experts do agree that BMI is not an accurate way to predict risks based on someone's just height and weight alone. All right, what else we got?
Next year's flu shots plans put on hold.
Child, now I know I'm about to fall off my stool now. Y'all know every year, and this is the great thing about communication with other countries, other continents, we get the scoop here in the United States and North America. We find out what flu virus is happening on other continents. That way, in the spring, we go ahead and we get our concoction for our flu vaccine together so that by the time fall comes, okay, flu before boo, once you get your flu shot before Halloween, by the time the fall comes, we're sitting pretty because we've already gotten our information from other countries, from other continents. And so we know what's likely going to be the season of flu. It changes every year. That's why we have a new vaccine every year. But now there's been a halt, okay? There's been a halt because of the powers that be in the government. And, you know, we know that Trump has had his issues, he and his board, as far as World Health Organization and pulling away from there. But these are some of the consequences that are going down. We don't have the flu vaccine being made, and the spring is right around the corner. So stay tuned and let's find out if we're going to get that information or not. But right now, there's been a halt in making it. Hopefully, we'll come to a resolution. But if we don't, that could be a big deal. Let me tell you why. The flu has killed 86 kids and 19,000 adults. Okay. People overuse the word flu. It's like, oh, I'm feeling sick, but I just got the flu. Oh, I feel a little under the weather. It's just the flu. No, influenza virus, influenza A, influenza B. Influenza can be deadly. Okay. Especially to people over the age of 65, to the very young, to immunocompromised patients, to pregnant patients, and people lose their lives. As a doctor, I've seen people pass away from the flu. It's not a joke. And so that flu vaccine, even though many people, and many of you listening might be like, I never get the flu vaccine, I do fine. And that's fine. And congratulations to you. But there are people who are vulnerable, okay? People who I see in the hospital, I see in my dialysis units. And so it's a huge deal if we're late making our flu vaccine or if we don't get the accurate information. And so please stay tuned and find out what happens, because you really might need to start grabbing your masks and your disinfectant if we don't have the flu vaccine, because those 19,000 adult deaths and 86 kids deaths very likely to rise if we don't have the vaccines in the coming year. All right. Anything else in that 5-minute health check, Shador?
Yes, ma'am. One more.
Okay.
Feeling better is just a phone break away.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There have been some studies that people are going on breaks. They're taking holidays from their smartphones. Now, how many of y'all, listen, just go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. Tell the truth and shame the devil. How many of y'all feel like a part of your body is missing practically if you don't have your smartphone right there with you? How many of y'all, if you're even sitting at dinner with your kids, dinner with a friend, you just have to check that phone? You do a quick look at your YouTube, your Instagram, your social media, your chat. How many of you? Put a 1 if you really feel like you are just about always connected to your phone. Well, some people have taken a break from their phones, calling it a smartphone fast, and they found that they felt a little happier, a little less stressed, okay, felt a little healthier. And so that's something to think about, giving yourself an hour or 2 a day or some really defined time. Maybe when you go out to dinner, don't take your phone. Like literally be like, okay, for this hour and a half, I'm not going to have my phone, a smartphone fast. So I want to know, anyone in the chat put like, yes, they feel like the phone has to be with them at all times. And also if any of y'all feel like, you know what, I'm going to try taking a smartphone fast. You know, we don't, all the science is not in, but who knows, maybe it'll make you feel a little healthier.
Yeah. So Sheree says, if I don't know where my phone is, I go into panic mode.
I know what you mean. And I'll be honest, I feel the same way. And yes, I can make the excuse. Well, it's not even an excuse. It's a fact. I do need my phone if the hospital calls me or my patients call me or if my kids call me. But look, even if I have somebody covering me and if all my kids and everyone I'm responsible for is in the house, I still have the phone by me. So let me not pretend. All right. Yeah. So I'm kind of with you there. Even at night when I roll over, I grab my phone. I'll go like that. And yeah, I can say it's to see if I missed a call from the hospital or from a patient, but I just want to see what's going on. All right. So maybe we can talk about doing a smartphone fast. Perhaps. All right. But this hits all of our topics. Shador, if we do have anyone who slipped in a question or a comment, we'll prioritize the members. Then I'll take just 1 or 2. Meanwhile, make sure that you visit drfrita.com. That's the central station for all things Dr. Frita. You can watch videos here on the YouTube channel. You can see what's going on my other social media. You'll know when I do television appearances. Okay. So I mentioned I've done the Portia show a couple of times this month. I'll let you know when those episodes air. And then I'm going to be back on Good Day Atlanta this month doing health headlines with Dr. Frita. So I'll keep you updated on there on my social media. And then check out here our YouTube shorts. We did some pretty exciting ones. I did one on Karen Huger, did one on the measles. You can check that out. And we know that we're constantly talking about blood pressure. March is Kidney Disease Awareness Month. We know the second cause of kidney failure is high blood pressure. So make sure you check out my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure, where I talk about not just medicine, but I talk about holistic ways of managing your high blood pressure. All right. And then also, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because I have a new video coming out this week that I'm very proud of. And so if you hit the notification, then you'll be among the first to know when that content is released. All right. Any little words from the good folks in the chat on our way out the door, Shador?
Yes, I'm going to touch on this question that was recurrent or asked by a couple of people.
Okay.
So Sheree asked, and Miss Noya asked this question: is the measles vaccine safe for middle-aged people and those who have kidney disease, CKDs? So should adults get the vaccine, and is it safe?
Yes. Now, anytime you get a vaccine, you want to consult with your physician, making sure that you're not allergic to anything that's in the measles vaccine. And if you're someone who's severely immunocompromised, you want to find out, from your physician for use specifically. But in general, the measles vaccine is safe. Now, I'll say, if you're someone who was born in a certain time, like before 1957, chances are you may have actually had the natural infection with the measles. So one thing that I recommend doing, if you're dealing with someone who's middle age, I would have them to go to their doctor and to get tested by blood test to see if you already have immunity from the measles vaccine or from having the measles itself. If you have adequate immunity, you will not need to get the vaccine. Does that make sense? So we're talking about middle-aged people, elderly people. If you're born before 1957, it was quite prevalent in the United States, the measles was. So you may have actually had the measles, okay? And look, I know my parents get tired of me talking about them, but I'll just say this. My dad, Dr. Freddie McCray Sr., who's a retired surgeon, talks about, the different illnesses that he saw people get as a child. Polio, getting paralyzed with polio, getting the measles. It was not uncommon, getting the mumps. And so he's one of those people who has lived it. I often say, why aren't people afraid of the boogeyman? Because they've never seen him. Why aren't people afraid of measles, mumps, rubella, polio, smallpox? Because they've never seen them. But start talking about to people who are older. Shout out to my older parents, mama and daddy. They're going to tell me all. But to people who are older, talk to people who are older and who were around in the 1950s and early 1960s before vaccines. But yeah, but it is safe to get. But if you have someone who's older, middle age, first have your doctor to test and see if you actually are immune already to measles, and so you can avoid it altogether. But for other people who are not vaccinated, remember, just 2 doses of the measles vaccines gives you a 97% protection from getting the measles.
All right. And this just ties in, Dr. Fisher, and we'll close out. This is from Goldie.
Hey, Goldie.
Hi, Goldie. What happens if you're allergic to the vaccine and you can't get it? Then what?
If you're allergic to the vaccine, then there's a couple things you can do. One, talk to your doctor and find out what the level of allergy is, and if there's a way that you can be sensitized, like by working with an allergist, where you can be, desensitized, where you're able to still get it. But if you're outright allergic and there's a risk of you having an anaphylactic reaction, like I was talking to somebody just yesterday who's allergic to the flu shot, then you just might not be able to get it. If you're truly allergic, you can't risk your life. And that's when it becomes important to have herd immunity. Okay. Because if you are in a community where most people are actually vaccinated, well, then you'll be protected just because the majority of your herd or your community is vaccinated. But if you live in some place like Gaines County, Texas, where the vaccination rate is exceedingly low, look, I wouldn't live there if I weren't able to get vaccinated, because if you're not vaccinated and you haven't already been found to be immune from the measles, then if you walk into the room with someone who has it, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that you will get it. But yeah, consult with your doctor. Really go over what the allergy is. Is it worth you getting a desensitization from an allergist, or do you just need to be extra careful, put on mask and have extra, just really be careful. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita.
All right. Well, thank y'all for participating. I really appreciate y'all. I love y'all for joining us. Thank you to the replay crew. On your way out the door, make sure you go ahead and give us a like, give us a share, and we will be back here next Monday. Same bat time, same bat place. Oh, why am I saying bat after that story about that mystery illness and those kids ate that bat? Anyway, we'll be here noon Eastern Standard Time every Monday on Medical Monday. I'm Dr. Frita. See y'all next week.